Hey, welcome to Scot Ferrell Show. Thanks so much for joining me today. Exciting show, maybe a little heartwarming show in addition to that, maybe a little painful for some people. Honoring veterans today, Memorial Day. Great celebration for some, a day of mourning for others. For me, it's a little of both. For my wife, it's mourning and cheerfulness. My wife's uncle still buried in a cemetery in Italy from World War II. But it's a good day to honor people that never got to come home. I've got a guest today, Bill Miles. Bill's the president or leader, or I think it's president of VFW for Georgia, state of Georgia. I'm going to read his bio in just a second because he's quite decorated. But I wanted somebody on the show today that could talk to us about what soldiers go through there and when they get back. I work with a lot of former soldiers who are retired now on getting them adjusted back into everyday life. But you can imagine coming back to everyday life and you've left some of your friends, so to speak, behind, even though you have their bodies. They don't always get to come home the way they wanted to. And I put out several photos yesterday on social media of what it's like for the people, because I have to meet with the families sometime. I am a pastor, and I sit down with the families after someone's come home, not the way they wanted them to. And I've been there with the families to go through it. It's never easy. It's never going to be easy. People forget that Memorial Day is not about hot dogs, hamburgers, going to the pool, going to the lake and water skiing. It's about people that gave their lives for our country. We need to never forget that, the ultimate sacrifice that they gave. I was blessed. All my relatives came home from World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korea. Everybody got a chance to come home. So most get to do that, but not all. All right, thank you so much for being with us today. Now, Dirt Pour Coffee. Nothing happens in this studio without Dirt Pour Coffee, the best coffee I've ever had. If you're ever in Summerville, Georgia, stop by and see the guys. Wonderful owner Heather and her gang are some of the most wonderful people I ever met. It's I don't live in Summerville, but I do come in here to get coffee. And it's some of the best I've ever tasted. And for a lady who can't cook, she has phenomenal baked items. The muffins are amazing, and the cheese straws, and the best chicken salad I've ever had outside of my grandma. My grandma's was great, so nothing can compare to that. But Heather's number 2 in that slot. So Dirt Pour Coffee, you do not want to miss it. All natural, all wonderful. All right, today's guest, I don't normally read all the bios. I'm reading this one. He's earned it. Anybody put on the uniform's a hero to me. Most disagree with me. I don't. I did not get to wear it. I was a drug addict, and they optioned not to give me one. But let me go through who's going to be talking to you today, because if you've ever listened to my show, today's a good day to just listen and then do what he asks you to do. Bill Miles, Commander of the Veterans and Foreign Wars Department of Georgia. Let me skip down. His awards and decorations are many, to include the Legion of Merit Bronze Star with 2 oak leaf clusters, Purple Heart Meritorious Service Medal with 3 oak clusters, Army Achievement Medal in 1 silver, 1 oak leaf cluster, Military Outstanding Volunteer Service Medal, Airborne Air Assault qualified and was awarded the Combat Action Badge for actions taken in Iraq. Bill served in the Gulf War, Afghanistan, 4 tours in Iraq, served several peacekeeping deployments, Bosnia, Macedonia, Albania, and Kosovo. He's also an inductee of Audie Murphy. It's a great, if you haven't caught up on that, come down to Georgia and check it out. Sergeant Morales and Samuel Sharp. He was also Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year of the 7th Combat Support Group, 3rd COSCOM, and 5th Corps. He's held numerous positions in the VFW, including Post Commander 2016 to 2024, where he achieved All-American, All-State, and Team Captain awards for 23-24, served as District Commander 2019-22, and achieved both All-State and All-American. He was also the Service Officer of the Year 2020, and he served on several national and state committees. I'd like to welcome Bill Miles to our show today. Hey, brother, how's it going?
Good.
I had to read your resume. Bill's very humble, so I have to embarrass him when I can. But those are achievements, so I'm glad that you have those because you saved us. Here's what I didn't know about your bio. I did not know you had a master's in secondary education.
Yes, sir. I finished that up as I was I spent 2.5 years in the Wounded Warrior program, and was able to finish that up before I left the military.
All right, I have a question. Bill was a D1 baseball player. Were you going to coach?
I had thought about it, but no, not really. I liked refing. I used to ref for a few years, and then, but now Father Time is my
Yeah.
military service caught up to me, so those days are long gone.
Yeah, I, as a high school coach, I said I would never officiate games because I could not put up with me, and there's just no way I could do it. All right, so let's get to this. I have a question, and people ask me this all the time. I know the answer, you know the answer, but most people don't. What is the difference? I got two of these though. Memorial Day and Veterans Day. What's the difference?
Memorial Day is not a celebration.
Correct.
It's a day to remember our fallen heroes. The ones who wrote the blank check to our country, and that check got cashed. I lost 23 friends between Iraq and Afghanistan, and I've lost 15 soldiers that I know of who have taken their life from their service, dealing with PTSD and TBI and other medical issues. So that's what Memorial Day is, to remember them.
Okay.
And Veterans Day is to honor our veterans. We're the 1% of this country that is put on the uniform, be it active duty, National Guard, reserves, and whatever branch. They're the ones that all of us write a blank check, and at any given time we can get that phone call and wheels up and heading off to a foreign land to defend our country. And we've even defended our country here in the United States in various missions, and also using soldiers to disaster relief and things of that nature. So it's thanking them for the service they do, the past, the present, and the future.
Yeah, thanks for that, because I get that question all the time, and I said, I'm just going to have Bill answer it. All right, the second question that I got from somebody yesterday, they knew you were coming on. The difference between the VFW and the American Legion.
So the Veterans of Foreign Wars is the oldest veteran service organization in this country and the only war organization in the world. They have specific requirements to join. You had to have served in a foreign combat or conflict, because like Bosnia and Kosovo, as you mentioned off my resume, were peacekeeping missions. We did go in and invade and stabilize those countries. So there's a certain criteria. In the American Legion, every veteran who has an honorable discharge qualifies for the American Legion. Both great organizations. I'm a life member of both.
Yeah, I grew up going to both because I had uncles in Japan. I had my dad, Korea, my father-in-law, Korea, my cousin, Vietnam. And I had an uncle at Midway who actually lived through the battle and got back in the battle. All right, thanks for doing that. Now let's get to present day. Are you still president of VFW Georgia?
I'm the state commander.
State commander.
I got second weekend of June. I will be exit staging right, and the new incoming commander, a good friend of mine, Arnold Gonzalez, will be taking the reins, and I will be the immediate past state commander, and I'll still be active. I'll be on our council at the state level, and I'm actually currently campaigning for a national position for our national home up in Eaton Rapids, Michigan, to be the District 5 trustee, which covers South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, and Puerto Rico. It's a 6-year commitment. I actually was very blessed. About 3.5 years ago, I met a young lady, Afghanistan vet, who had been homeless, 2 small children, one with special needs, autism, and was able to help her from A to Z, fill out the application, do the interview process. And my post stepped up, and we paid to help her move from Georgia up to Eaton Rapids, Michigan 3.5 years ago. And I'm glad to say here a couple weeks ago, she moved out in the national home. She purchased her own home through Habitat Humanity program for veterans. We got her VA disability taken care of, but more importantly, she's in college. In the last 2 semesters, she's been on the dean's list, and so she went from not having much of a light at the end of the tunnel to a huge light, and she's doing great. And I was just in the right place, right time, and of course, I've heard about the national home for years, because every year our junior vice commander, that's a trip, all junior vice commanders from every department travel up there to go see the home, and it's a life-changing experience. Actually, my first trip to the national home was taking this young lady up there, and then 6 months later, I followed up with my visit as the junior vice commander for the state of Georgia. And when I first met her, she didn't have a lot to smile about. But 6 months later, she did, and she's doing great, and I'm just so happy for her. And I knew back then I wanted to be a part of the national home. You find that thing that clicks with you,
Yeah.
and after doing that process, I want to be a part of it. And so I was encouraged to run, and I've been campaigning for the last year and a half. And August elections open up, and I'll find out. I think it's in September if I get the position or not. So. Yeah, I'm still staying active, even though I'm no longer going to be state commander. And I actually just got voted back in. I'm going to be post commander here at my local post, and looking forward to that as we move forward to try to build us a new building, because we lost our building during COVID, had a fire in 2020, and so now we've been renting places. And it'd be nice to get a nice post home that the veterans in my community can call home.
Yeah, Bill. Now, Bill doesn't know I'm gonna do this, but these guys always need money, folks. VFW always needs money. They do great work, which I'm going to have Bill talk about in just a second. Bill, I've got your email up there. Is there any other? I want to, with the home that you just talked about. Is there any way people get involved with that?
Yes. So you can go to, if you Google VFW National Home, their website will pop up, and you can become a life member. They also have the links there to make donations. They actually have a store also to buy shirts, hats, and stuff like that. But yeah, the opportunities to support the VFW National Home is online.
And also, the Veterans Crisis Line is up. If you're hearing the show and you are in crisis, please reach out. Don't sit there by yourself. Bill and I will support you on that one too. You won't be talking to us, but you will be talking to someone who really understands where you're coming from, and they'd like to talk to you. All right, Bill, let me go over this because a lot of people, again, don't know. It's a good informative show. What is the overall function of the VFW?
Well, back 126 years ago, I always get the number right. I think it's 13. Veterans met in Columbus, Ohio. Little funny story. When I was up there last year for the National Convention in Columbus, Ohio, which I had just become state commander, we went to visit that site. And ironically enough, the college I graduated with my bachelor's degree, Franklin University, that spot is where their university is. So I didn't know that. Yeah, that was pretty funny. But, I mean, these guys got together and seen that, hey, veterans and their families, the orphans and widows aren't being taken care of. And that was the foundation to now what you see. But I mean, the bottom line of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, we help all veterans. No matter if you qualify for organization or not. We got great accredited service officers across the nation and overseas helping our veterans and their families apply for VA benefits. But I always tell people it's a safe place for veterans to come together and fellowship, and taking care of veterans and their families. But the other piece of that is, we do a lot of stuff that has nothing to do with veterans. Our community programs, like our youth programs, Teacher of the Year, Voice of Democracy, Patriot Pin, our first responder awards, I know scouting, GROTC, all those are recognized in excellence in our community. And I think that's really important. And bottom line, veterans that are engaged are less likely to have to call the 988 number you're talking about, which I just want to add. I've actually been with some veterans who've called that number, and they've gotten amazing assistance through that. So if you're, ask for help. Don't be too proud. I know, we're all A personalities if you served in the military, but there's a time when you got to say, okay, I need some help, and that help is out there. You got to make that step forward to get the help. And there's a lot of resources out there, but 988 is definitely, a place to start. And of course, every community I could sit here all day, talk about different programs I've seen, but it's different worldwide. But 988 is a number for all of us here in the 50 states, and they will work with you.
Yeah. Do you ever have guys just drop by the hut and just want to chat that need help?
Yes, from time to time. But more importantly is, as you got members who come regularly to meetings and stuff, you see a change, and you pick up on that. Hey, and you pull them on side. Hey, everything okay? And a lot of times you find out, no, some things ain't okay. Anybody who's served overseas in a combat zone, I think will say the same thing. It don't matter how educated you are, how big of a boy you are, and nightmares will creep up on you, thoughts from the things you've done, because we ask young men and women to do some hard stuff. And then expect them to come home and flip a switch and change who they are. And that's the transitions where a lot of people suffer, not suffer, but struggle with that transition, and
Yeah.
and having these different resources to assist are very, very important. And who better to talk to than fellow veterans? Even if, like for instance, I got a lot of Vietnam vets in my post.
Yeah.
Hearing their stories, and then they ask me questions about my service, and it creates a dialogue. And they know that they can talk to me, and I can talk to them, and you can't put a price tag on that.
Yeah, it was amazing. Which leads me to the next question. Last week, I had my agent on that was active in Vietnam, and he was in a Jeep, and his best friend's head was blown off right beside him. And he tells about that story. Let me ask you this. What's it like to go active? You're active, war zone. What's it feel like to get on the plane and come home, and what's the adjustment like?
Well, I mean, everybody's experience is different.
Yeah,
It's just like grieving. All of us grieve in different ways. For me, getting on that plane, I'm telling you, the old saying is, we always tell our soldiers, hey, don't overfill your rucksack. So
yeah,
if you're struggling, ask for help, and learn how to take some of that stuff out of your rucksack. That's kind of an analogy we
yeah,
used when I was in the Army. I always felt my rucksack got just a little bit lighter.
yeah,
And, of course, the anticipation of seeing your spouse and your kids and your other family and friends. Being, for a year, being over in the desert, not being able to ride my motorcycle or go do the things I enjoy, or have the foods I like, all that just comes to play, and it gets overwhelming, and it's all great hunky dory. It's kind of like I'll compare it to the honeymoon phase after you get married,
yeah,
then things kind of settle down, and that's when a lot of times a lot of people struggle, and everybody has a different experience. I can tell you that when I came home in '04 for my first tour in Iraq. It was a huge struggle. I got hit hard with nightmares, and I'd been to Desert Storm, Desert Shield, and been over to Afghanistan already, and I hadn't had any issues. But '03, '04 Iraq brought a lot of stuff to light, and it was a struggle to deal with it. And at the time, I'm just going to be honest. As a senior NCO, if I would have said, "Hey, I need some help," yeah, they'd have been helping me out the door, and my career
yeah,
would have been over.
yeah,
So a lot of us, I know a lot of folks had to hide it. Bottom line, and years later caught up with me, and then when they med boarded me, time for me to exit stage right, because I was like, okay, I've done my part, and my body, Father Time caught up with me, and the
yeah,
beating I put on my body through my service, and back in my younger days playing sports, it just took a toll, and I exit stage right, and I tell everybody I think it was a blessing when it happened. Yeah, I didn't get to make my last rank, which I had made the E9 list, but I got involved here in the local community in the VFW in the last 11 years. What an experience. I could sit here all day and tell you all the stories of the different veterans that I've met, and we've been able to come together as a post and help them in the community, from building wheelchair ramps, getting them medical equipment, just getting them to their doctor's appointments. I got one vet right now. I take him every 2 weeks to the grocery store, take him to the pharmacy, get his medications and all that stuff. And, he looks forward to that every 2 weeks, because that's about the only time he's getting out of his house, because he can't drive right now, because he's got some eye issues, and we're trying to get him some appointments to see if there's anything they could do to any surgical stuff they could do to fix his eyes so he could drive again.
wow,
He just recently lost his brother, and both of them had lost their wives. So they moved in together, and now that he lost his younger brother, and in Vietnam, man, he's a cool dude, but all this stuff is hitting him, to include his service from way back when. It's just kind of those triggers. You never know when those triggers are going to hit. That's a big thing, is knowing how to mitigate those triggers, and that's why I tell everybody, get involved, surround yourself with other veterans, because it makes it a whole lot easier to talk to folks that have similar, maybe not
yeah.
in the same place you've been, but have similar experiences.
Oh yeah, I remember dealing with the World War II guys. Yes, I'm old enough, folks watching. I am. They normally drown their sorrows with Jack Daniels. Watched a lot of that as a child. Guys from Korea, and it was interesting. I taught with coached with a Vietnam vet, and I always dreaded it when a helicopter would come over the gym, because when the helicopter, he would hit the ground, and we tried to help him. He's retired now. But it was very interesting. So what Bill's talking about, not everybody's fault, I got it. But please listen to what he's saying about what our vets go through on a daily basis, which brings me to a number that was quite disturbing to me. I looked it up this morning. 51,936 homeless vets. To me, that's inexcusable. If you wear the uniform, you deserve everything that we can do for you. Can you speak to that, Bill? What are we doing right now for homeless vets?
So, that's another one of those things, depending on the community you're in, there's a lot of different programs, but it's definitely an issue. And
Yeah,
it's an issue I know all the veteran service organizations are, saying, hey, we got to do a better job. Um, it's terrible.
yeah,
I've dealt with some homeless veterans, and many of their stories are tough. And a lot of them, they need, you know,
yeah,
medical care, some inpatient stuff.
yeah,
They're dealing with some real demons, and of course, a lot of them don't want to. They don't want to go there. They're afraid that somebody's going to lock the door and throw away the key type thing.
yeah,
So you got those challenges. Um, but yeah, the homeless veteran situation. I know the numbers have went down in recent years. From a briefing I was at a couple months ago at the VA here in Georgia, and I'm just talking Georgia numbers.
right.
I couldn't speak about national, 'cause I don't have those numbers or go to any briefings like that. But I know when we do our VA brief quarterly, they were saying the numbers have gone down. So we do have programs in place, and we just got to keep striving forward to reach out to those veterans and help them. In a lot of cases, I know in a couple of cases I've dealt with up here in Northeast Georgia, they really didn't know how to apply for their benefits. So once we were able to, get them um, in our facility and sit them down, and there's some challenges there. It's like, okay, you're applying for benefits, they got to have an address, but they're
Yeah,
homeless.
yeah,
Um, and then a lot of them don't even have a cell phone or anything. So now you're dealing with all those, and that's where 988 comes in. You got a homeless veteran, and depending on your community, where you're at, they're going to link you up with assets that are in your community or close to your community. Because a lot of times, like living up here in the mountains, we don't have a lot of programs like that. So we're
yeah,
having to take folks up to Asheville, North Carolina, or down the Atlanta area, to the bigger cities.
yeah,
And yeah, trust me, the numbers make me sad all the time. And when you meet them,
yeah.
their stories just are very, they hit home.
Yeah, I remember going to the Vietnam Wall in D.C., and Bill was recently in D.C., and just going, and there'll be a lot of homeless veterans. The days I always go, they're there, and I chat with them, and I had one guy take me to the board and go through some of his buddies that were there. Now this was 30 years ago, and he took me through the names of the guys that were there. Let's talk to this because yesterday was Memorial Day. My good friend of mine, my mentor, Lieutenant Colonel Alan Tucker, his wife was the one that had to go and talk to the ladies when their husbands did not come home. Have you had to do that, or was that not within your sphere of influence?
I was a casualty assistance officer twice in my military career, and I will tell you, um, any casualty assistance officer will tell you
Yeah,
that's a tough duty. Tough
yeah,
duty. Notifying the family and then taking them through that whole process from A to Z, to include getting their loved one home and to their final resting place, and making sure they're taken care of and established. But at the same time, it was an honor to take care of that soldier's, in my case, Army soldier's family, to ensure they were taken care of. And yeah, but yeah,
it's
that's a tough
yeah,
dude.
yeah, it's tough. I remember the movie We Are Soldiers, and she said it was similar to that when she would go and sit with the wives because since he's lieutenant colonel, she had to go do that. And then I saw the Kevin Bacon movie. I don't know the name of the movie. I've only seen this part where he stayed with the body, got it all the way there. It's a very somber event because, I have one of those flags, but my dad lived to come home. I got that flag at his burial. It's not a flag that you want prematurely. I know what it's like to sit with those families as a pastor. You just sit, hug them, and love on them. Now, let me ask you this, and you deal with this. Survival's guilt. You've got someone who comes home, he's the only one that made it back. What do y'all do for this guy?
Well, I will tell you that's one of the things about Memorial Day that to this day I still troubles me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always tell everybody, say their names out loud, share their stories, so they're not forgotten. But when you start saying their names out loud and you start sharing their stories, you're reminded of the close calls you had. Because I'm sure not everybody who deploys has these close calls, but many of us have.
Yeah.
And then you start wondering, and just in general, you deployed Iraq, Afghanistan, Vietnam, wherever, and you made it home. Your friends didn't. I mean, that's right there is a setup for survivor's guilt. And you think about them and you think, well, I didn't get to go. I got to come home. They didn't. Um, I know for me, I started focusing on okay, what doing the most I can with being blessed.
Yeah.
I did make it home, and that's why since I retired 11 years ago from the Army, after 28 years of service, I just continued service just in a different realm, and I do that through the veteran service organizations that I'm a part of. VFW being my number one. Obviously, but I'm also a life member of American Legion, AMVETS, Disabled American Veterans, all great organizations that are fighting for legislation at our
Yeah.
national capital. Sadly enough, that it's sad that we have to have organizations. If you think about it,
Yes.
these veterans organizations to advocate for our benefits. But if we didn't, we'd be in a lot worse shape than we are now. And I mean, you got things like the Major Richard Starr Act. Me personally, that affects me. I
Yeah.
lose $1,400 a month out of my Army retirement check because I'm drawing VA disability. But that's my VA is like workman's comp, and so it's supposed to be concurrent pay. But unfortunately, there's this loophole under Chapter 61, and that me and several of my friends are all losing a portion of our military retirement because we're drawing VA benefits, but we were medically retired, and you gave us this retirement, and then we're eligible for VA because of our service, and then we're getting dinged for it.
Yeah.
It's real sad, but I'm glad they're out there fighting, and I'm being part of that fight. One of my big, I guess, my big feather in the hat, in my opinion, this year is the state commander of Georgia VFW. I started a group called Georgia Veterans on the Hill, and we have right now, I think it's 23 veterans organizations, nonprofits in Georgia that have come together, and we're trying to be one voice. And we did the first Vets on the Hill event in January while they were in session. And we found out the last time veterans had gathered at our capital was back in Vietnam. And so
Wow.
now we're looking to make this an annual event. We had about roughly around 200 veterans showed up for this event, and it was a very cold day. When I got up and got out of the hotel to get my truck, I was like, well, I'm going to be lucky if there's 50. But we had over 200. They came out, and the thing was, it was amazing. People were stopping and asking us, why are you guys here? Well, because we're fighting for our benefits. We're fighting
Yeah.
for have more veteran homes in Georgia. Right now, Georgia only has 2 veteran homes. Every state that surrounds Georgia has 5 or more.
Where,
And the only state that has more
where are those
is
located?
Florida.
Yeah. Where are those located, Bill?
Milledgeville and Augusta. You got the Blue Goose in Augusta,
Yeah.
and then you got the one in Milledgeville.
Where else do we need them? What would be an
Well,
ideal location?
I know right now they're looking at building a third one in Albany. I think nobody will disagree. We need something close to the metro Atlanta area
Oh,
because
yes.
we talked about the homeless veteran number. That's that definitely would help out with that. Of course, I always get their name messed up. The Towers, the Twin Towers organization. Man, I'm having a brain fart.
Yeah.
Apologize. But they just built a facility right up the street from Six Flags. I was there this
wow.
past year when they opened that and had this ceremony. Excellent facility, and they're doing a great job tackling the homeless veteran thing. I think they can house 80 some veterans. That's numbers off the top of my head, but they're that's their focus, and they're building these facilities nationwide. So kudos to them. I mean, I'm Tunnel Towers. That's what it was. Tunnel Towers. They're doing a great job. I've been to 2 of their facilities. I was at the grand opening, the one in Dan here in, outside Atlanta. But obviously, having a veterans home in the Atlanta area, that would definitely address the helping the homeless there that just need a place like assisted living or a nursing home
Right.
environment for our older ones. But yeah, we just need more programs like that. But I mean, you look at the statistics, like I said, every state around us has 5 homes or more. The 48th Combat Brigade Team here in Georgia, the National Guard, they're the most deployed combat brigade team in the nation. And these young, their senior leaders are starting to hit age and retirement, because I got some of my friends that I've met since I've lived here in Georgia the last 7 years that are starting to retire from the 48th Brigade, who are senior leaders. Them young troops, 15, 20 down years of the road, they're going to be hitting that
Yeah.
age. And with we got to get ahead of the game, and we got to get some homes, because they serve their country. And for them, they leave their jobs and everything, and go from being
Yep.
weekend soldier to full time. And I started out in the National Guard, so I'm very familiar with the Guard and that transition of getting deployed, because I deployed to Desert Storm from the Guard. And it's a whole lot different than you're active duty,
Oh,
and you
yeah.
get the confirmation, they read the warning orders, like, all right, here we go again. um,
Yeah.
but they provide, they what they do is amazing, and having the most deployments of any brigade combat team in the nation is yeah, we should make sure we have the facilities to take care of them going down the road. So hopefully the Albany thing, I know
Yeah.
they're looking at that, and funding and everything, and hopefully we'll see something in Albany in the near future. But we got to start planning for the other ones, or we're going to come up short down the road, and
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
failure for our veterans and families.
It's funny. We had a senator, Zaxby Chambliss, years ago here in Georgia, and when I was on the radio, I was such a thorn in his side. His age would hang up on me when I called. It was funny. They knew my voice because myself and my mentor at the time were really giving it to him about veterans and about a lot of stuff out of Washington. Now, if you're listening, people in the House and Senate of Georgia, step up. It's about time we did something for our vets. It's about time we stop leaving them out there. Y'all got enough money for Somalia, so y'all might as well have enough money for our vets. Which, let me ask you this question. You're in the North Georgia mountains. What all needs to be done for these guys up here? Groceries, housing, what else?
Well, it's proven that financial stability is
Yep.
is an issue. So getting veterans getting an education, be it even if it's just getting certified in a technical field like plumbing, electrical. Um, Obviously, your main needs: clothing,
Yeah.
shelter, food, water, medical care. So all those are issues that many of our veterans face, and their families.
Right.
And like I said, there's a lot of programs, and it depends where you live. There's not, like, for homeless veterans up here in Northeast Georgia, there's not really a program.
Yeah.
We pretty much either got to go south towards Atlanta, or go head up towards the Asheville, North Carolina area, where they have a VA facility, and they have a pretty strong homeless veteran program there. Unfortunately, the one they did have got destroyed when Carolina got
Yeah.
flooded a few years ago.
Yep.
So, but I've heard they've moved that to a new location. I don't know where that's at, but I know when it was down the street from the VA, because I go to the VA in Franklin, North Carolina. Amazing facility, and they had a lot of great programs, from teaching vets how to cook. They had executive chefs coming in once a week to their facility and giving
Wow.
classes to the veterans. Right next door was a truck driving school, so a lot of the veterans would enroll in the truck driving school, get their CDL, and which led to employment. So great success stories, and a lot of great programs like that nationwide. We just got to continue to strive to identify these veterans that are struggling, these veterans who are homeless, and in a lot of cases they got families too,
Oh, yeah.
and working with them to and basically, as I like to say, you got to chicken wing them, and follow them through the process from
Yeah.
A to Z.
Yeah, we've helped too, and it's funny. Bill never gets a day off because I've tried to play golf with him, and his phone's always going because that's how much need there is. I've been walked through this with him, and it's disturbing again to me how few people have stepped up. So if you're in the North Georgia area, whether it be Cleveland, Clarksville, Helen, all the way over to the South Carolina line. Get involved. There's a lot of guys in your neighborhood, in your area, that need food, they need water, they need medical care, they need a trip to the doctor. Just get somebody that's got a van and get these guys to where they need to go. Which you can answer this, because I looked at where all the veterans were located all over the United States. Of course, the Southeast United States has the most. Why do most of them come to the Southeast United States?
Well, I can tell you why I'm here.
It's
I don't
warm.
miss the snow. I don't miss the snow or the cold. I think that has a big play, but well, traditionally, and I don't know all the branch service numbers, but traditionally, a lot of our military recruits come out of the South.
Yeah.
So, they join the military in the South, and they're coming back home to the South. You know, you don't hear people from down here moving up north where I'm from, Iowa. You hear a lot of people from Iowa coming down south to where we're at. So, yeah, I'll leave it to weather.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I know what it was like to grow up where you did. I got friends from Buffalo, and I ain't doing it. I called my cousin one time and I said, I'm sitting on my back deck. This was late January, in shorts. It's 70 degrees. I said, what's it like in Chicago? He said, well, our wind chill's 30 below today. That would explain it. That was easy enough. Now, let me ask you this question. The VFW, we got you guys. Are there programs out there for the families to help the wives and the kids adjust to when they come home?
Yes, there are different programs, and it's community based.
Okay.
I'll give a couple examples. I know the Emory University has a PTSD program, and it's designed not just for the veteran; it's also the families. They give them training and work with them, so they can have a better understanding of what the veteran's going through.
Right.
To help them through that process, and then of course, obviously, they're focused on the veteran and giving him or her the tools needed to be able to identify those triggers, how to deal with it, when you're having an anxiety issue, or you're just feeling uncomfortable, or just need somebody to talk to, because it's those are all tools. And I'm a mechanic by trade my whole life. I'm a firm believer: the more tools I got, the more successful I'll be. So, I still buy tools today, and I've been retired. I'll see some new gadget. Oh yeah, I need that. Did I really need it? No, but I've lived my whole life with that analogy of the more tools I have and the variety of tools I have, the more jobs I can do and be successful. And it's the same with having those tools to deal with, and it's just not PTSD. For a long time, I got misdiagnosed. I didn't know I had a traumatic brain injury. So then when they figured that out, I got a totally different treatment package, which, is giving me a better quality of life. And that at the end of the day, to me, is, I don't think any veteran will disagree with me on that, is we want a good quality of life, and we deserve that quality of life. We raised our right hand and took an oath for this country. And, we were told we'd be taken care of, but I mean, we can sit here all day and talk about all, earlier we talked about the Major Richard Starr Act. There's a lot of shortfalls in helping our veterans. Don't get me wrong, we're passing new stuff. It's getting better. The VA, Doug Collins, right here from Georgia, me personally, and I've met him a couple of times, great guy, real smart. He's trying to fix problems that have been around for years, and Rome wasn't built in one day. So
correct.
I see the effects of the changes he's making, and it's positive. So I hope we continue going that way, because not just because I'm a veteran. I come from a long history of veterans. My dad was Vietnam. Both my uncles were D-Day and Battle of the Bulge, 82nd Airborne and 101st. I had a grandfather who was World War II, and another grandfather was the Korean War. So I come from a long history and been blessed. All of us have made it home. But now that I'm older and realize, my grandfather and my uncles, they suffered from PTSD and just, never dealt with it because, they were told, suck it up, drive on, just like I was. I'm glad I met some folks who changed my outlook on that and went from, okay, suck it up, drive on, to no, we need to lay the cards out on the table and start dealing with these issues. so I can have a better quality life. Because when I have a better quality life, my family has a better quality life,
Yep.
and my friends around me, I'm able to emulate the things that have helped me have a better quality life to them, in hopes that, because not everything that works for me will work for somebody
Right.
else, but they won't know until they try, because there's a lot of different treatment programs out there for PTSD and TBI. As we know, there's programs out there that we can't get here in the United States. They're finding out statistically that these are effective means of dealing with PTSD and TBI, and so as we push forward and get funding, hopefully we can get these things approved here in the United States and implement them.
Yeah.
Of course, we could talk all day about marijuana and the
Yeah. Yeah.
THC and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
We
I
can.
know
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
that and it's improved their quality of life. So I don't know. Me personally, I don't use it. But if it gives a veteran a better quality of life, and not just a veteran, because PTSD is
Anyone.
not just
Yeah.
veterans, it's any. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's important.
It's funny. A good friend of mine, very close friend of mine, was Doug Collins' his best friend growing up. And we've chatted about Doug. And it's what people don't know, and you guys will see. I also have a TBI, and I am being treated now by the Carrick doctors in Marietta currently for my issues. And we're doing a documentary series on it. All right, last question before I let you go. Right now, today, what's the best thing someone can do to help veterans?
Well, we have Veterans Day. To me, every day should be Veterans Day.
Absolutely.
I try not to ever miss the opportunity to thank a veteran for their service, and that simple thing. I know it sounds real simple, but you'd be surprised if veterans having a bad day, and I've had some bad days, and somebody walks up, "Hey, thank you for your service," and instantly it changes where I'm at
Yeah.
at that time. So that's a simple thing. But everywhere, like I said earlier, there's you got different organizations and different programs out there. All of them, be it VFW, American Legion, DAV, AMVETS, any of them, they, we do fundraisers and various things, and those monies we pump back into our communities that we live in, along with helping our veterans and stuff. So anywhere you could help with that, in-kind donations, monetary, would definitely be appreciated. And I know that the monies go to good use, because I've seen it firsthand where I live, and the stuff that I've seen the last 11 years is what keeps driving me to keep doing what I do.
Yeah, I've gotten to be around Bill and watch what's going on in the community, and it's fabulous. Bill's probably one of the most active guys I've ever met, and I've had friends throughout the years that did this. Bill, can people stop by and see the VFW if you guys invite them in Clarksville?
Well, once we get up and running, we're in the process of moving. We got to be out of our facility over in Cornelia by June 15th, and actually this weekend we're going to be doing the big push for the move. But yeah, once we get set up, absolutely, we'll have a number on the door. So if the veteran has questions, they'll have options. They can talk to me as a post commander, our chaplain, and I think there's a couple. I think our service officers also linked on there. But yeah, and then of course we got our website, and they send us messages like that. But yeah, we try to be available to our veterans and their families to answer questions, but more importantly, to guide them to, if they're needing assistance, or just want somebody to talk to. Hey, let's meet and have coffee over at Ingles or Starbucks, wherever the case may be.
Yeah, and Bill's a pretty good cook, guys. When they do an event, Bill does a lot of the cooking. Good cook there. You're looking at him. The man knows how to man a grill. Hey, Bill, thanks so much for stopping by today. I'll probably have you back. We've got to keep talking about veterans, and I'm also involved in Washington, where I chew on people's ears. And together, we've got to do something about veterans in a mass way. So get in touch with Bill if you're in the area. Go by the VFW once they move. Get involved somehow with veterans. Let me read that quote again. 51,936 got it off the government website today of homeless vets. That's inexcusable. I don't want to get political today. I really could go off on this one. Ask Zach Chief Chambliss. He's retired now, but I can make a difference here. Bill, thanks so much for your service. Thanks so much for what you do, and thanks for leading the VFW here in Georgia.
Thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about veterans.
You got it, man. Take care. All right, guys, it's time for the mailbox. My wife's so sweet. She sends them to me. Bill's an amazing person. I get to play golf with him, hang out with him. the stories he tells me are heart-wrenching about what some of these guys go through. So if you've never been involved with veterans, do yourself a favor and get to know a few and just talk to them. The greatest thing we can do is just support them. I've never been in an active zone, and I know what it's like to get shot at, but not by a combatant like they have. I just know what it's like to get shot at by rednecks and hoodlums. Not the same. So anybody that's been over to foreign war, and I deal with a lot of vets. That's about all I can say about that. But I do help a lot of veterans as a pastor and what we do with our company. But they need our love, support, and our money. And they need help in every which way they can to get this done. All right, now let's go to the mailbag. Now remember, show@scotferrell.com is how you reach the mailbag. Also, if you feel like there's something my company can do for you, go to our website, scotferrell.com. The spelling's up there. scotferrell.com. I do work with people on an individual basis. Just let us know what you need. All right, now let's get to the mailbag. All right, first question. Oh, boy. I don't normally read these before. What I don't like is the people that come on shows and pre-read their answers and write out. I don't do that. What I do is have them hand them cold to me. I don't look at them till you and I are together. And then I answer them. All right, so this one's, I'm not even going to use the name because this one's pretty difficult. My parents got divorced. And after the divorce, my mom married a woman. I'm angry, unsure, and don't know what to do. Okay, that's a toughie. I get this. Unfortunately, I get this a lot. So we have to divide this. There's so many layers to this type of situation. Okay, mom married a man, which would be this individual's mom and dad originally, got a divorce, and now mom's with a woman. Okay, so lots of questions there. Why's mom with a woman? Who am I? And let me handle both sides. Now, as adults, I never tell adults what they can and cannot do because it's not like they'd listen to me anyway. Who am I to tell somebody else what to do? Who would somebody else tell me what to do? As a parent, as a person, it's your life. You do what you want. The problem is sometimes we forget there are consequences to our actions to other people within our core group. Now, I know people are going to say, I got to be free to be me. I got it. I feel you. However, when we have kids, we take on a whole different responsibility. I know from my own life, right? So we have to think through what we do. And this would be the same, male or female. I always tell people, be careful who you bring in your life, who's around your kids. Now, there's no distinction on how this woman acts or whatever. So we'll just assume this woman's wonderful, okay? Let's go on the bright side. All right, so now mom's out of a toxic situation, I would assume. Don't know, don't have any specifics. So we left the toxic situation to go to a completely different situation. Being a pastor, you know how I would lean on this. But let's get to the kid. Yes, divorce in itself allows kids to feel lost, unsure, not sure what's going on. And every divorced couple, normally, it was not a shock to the kids because there's fighting and fussing and all the things that go with that, too, in a home. I know my mom and dad got divorced. Their divorce was a blessing to me because it stopped the war zone on a daily basis. The fussing, the fighting, the everything, right? The drinking. But then, who's the kid? So we've got kids here, and your self-concept, self-esteem, self-awareness is developed by that cocoon of family, mom, dad, each having their different roles. Each different role feeds into us as human beings. We get our self-concept normally from dad. We get our love, warmth, and contentment through mom. It's Psych 101 or Behavior 101, whichever class you want to quote. But it's all true. And we mature. Remember, our maturation schedule is 0 to 7, 7 to 13, 13 to 18, and or Piagetian schedule would be 0 to 2, 2 to 5, or 3 to 5, 5 to 8, 8 to 13, and then 13 to 18. So think about all the changes that take place, because I'm assuming this person is still of high school age. Think about all that's going through. You got hormones, you got mom and dad, you got mom marrying a woman or being with a woman now. You've got all these things that make this up. Normally they don't turn out positively. Normally kids who get in this environment don't fare well. There's a lot of depression, sadness, not uncertainty, not knowing what's going on top of being a young lady. And what do people always say about high school girls? I'd like for somebody to take them away at 14 and bring them back at 19. I taught high school for almost 25 years, so I can speak to that. And I have my own kids. But what do you do? Well, there's nothing you can do about mom's relationship because she's of age. She's clearly made a decision. You are not of age, so you don't have a lot of input. Now, once you become 18, you can do what you need to do. How do you deal with it until then? Okay, then that's a whole nother philosophical discussion to where, is there a God? No God. Are we atheists? Are we believers? Are we Satanists? Okay, what's my belief system? How do I solve this problem? How do I go about solving this problem? Can I talk to them? Can I not? So many things that I could do a whole seminar on this, and I have. I've done I think I did 6 to 8 hour seminar on this one time. And on this show, let me look at my watch, we only have a few minutes, right? Right, so I couldn't answer that the whole way because there's just not enough time on the show to do it. All right. But thank you so much. I'm not going to use your name for this. All right. So now, Barry, where's Barry from? I'm going to get my eyes checked pretty soon. I'm getting bifocals. Praise Jesus. Barry is from Roswell, Georgia. Oh, boy. I don't think Barry's the real name, to be honest. I think this is incognito with this question. My mom's wearing embarrassing clothing and hanging out with my friends. Embarrassing means suggestive. What can I do or what can I do about it? Oh, boy. As a former high school teacher, I used to see this quite often. I'd see the mom show up dressed like the daughter or dressed like she's trying to be appealing to the boys or the friends of her son. I have seen this in so many meetings and so many open houses. It's just disheartening. I think back to when I was 18. Good grief, everybody looked like they were 70. Everybody's mother looked like they were 70 in some cases. There was always one hot mom, but that was it. What do you do? Well, you can talk to her. Normally that goes in and one out the other because mama's already on this track. The thing is, normally women who do this are painfully insecure. That's how you end up on OnlyFans. And they want male attention and or attention from anyone. So if it's a woman, I normally got a lot of the women, the women would raid the child's closet and then want to hang out on Friday nights, even if the child wasn't there with her friends, so she'd have them come over. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. That's healthy. Or you have the other mother that, thank good this didn't happen to me, but it did happen to one of my colleagues. A lady showed up. Not modestly dressed, but barely dressed for a parent conference, and then insinuated she wanted a little fun time with the teacher. Thank God that never happened to me. We've seen it all. Is there anything you can do about it as a child? No. People are going to do what they want to do regardless of what you say. The only thing you can do is shield yourself as much as you can from it and try to do your best. I know as a child, I'm not dishonoring my mom with this. My mom had a drinking problem due to a lot of stuff that doctors had done to her. My mom struggled, and I couldn't bring my friends around my mom because it was a disaster everywhere we went. So I definitely understand this. Thank God my mom didn't do this. All right, let me get to the next one. All right, this is, let me see. Oh, this is a great one. Hannah, and Hannah is from Charlotte, North Carolina. Thank you, Hannah. All right, how do I know if it's God talking to me or something else or an entity of some sort? Yes. I should know when I was a little boy, I could talk to demons at the age of 3. That's why I ended up worshiping Satan and working for him for a while. Now I work for Jesus. How do you know? Whatever they say, whoever's talking to you, and both can talk to you in the spiritual realm, because we have 9 dimensions of time, anything can happen. And the unseen is way more powerful than the seen. Does it match up with Scripture? The only way you're going to know, is it asking you to do something stupid, hurt yourself, hurt other people? That's not Jesus. That's not the Holy Spirit. But what is it saying? Does it match up with Scripture? That's the fastest way you can tell if it's an entity or an angelic voice and/or. Now, we don't normally talk to angels. I know there's stories. That's what I'm talking about. Angels are just messengers. They don't sit and converse. If somebody's trying to converse with you and they say they're an angel, they probably are, just on the other side. They're not our team. But I get these questions a lot because people come to me because I used to be a Satan worshiper. And I've started talking to demons when I was a kid. and I would carry on conversations with them. And then I had a handler that was a demon when I got into high school that I would talk to. It sounds crazy, I know, but look up John Ramirez, and my story is nothing compared to his, and it won't sound as crazy anymore. But yeah, if there's something constantly talking to you, okay, constantly talking to you, normally it's not the Holy Spirit, normally is an entity that's on Satan's team. You do not want to converse with them. You don't want to give them the time of day. You do not want to entertain them. They're not your friend. They are there to destroy you. Understand that. Anything sent by Satan, because he hates humankind, is there to destroy you. It's that simple. Now, if you have a question, go to show@scotferrell.com. We like having these. I get hit up. I'll be in the grocery store, and somebody will come over and go, will you do this question for me this week? And, of course, I will. The key is I only have, if you really look at how we do this, I only have 52 hours a year to reach you in this platform. 52 weeks a year, I do an hour show every week. Currently, we're probably going to end up moving to daily. Eventually, not yet. I still have to get my health on top. Now, remember, we have to honor veterans. What Bill does for the state of Georgia is absolutely amazing. I have watched him do some miracles for veterans. It's absolutely amazing what he and his group have done. Now, he's getting ready to leave his post as commander for Georgia and go back to Clarksville as the commander. And if you're in that area, from Toccoa over to Clarksville, Helen, Cleveland, Georgia, give them a hand. Their VFW hut burned down, and they've been using a temporary site. They need a new site, as do a lot of these guys. If you ride through cities, I know I went through Calhoun, Georgia the other day. VFW probably needs a little repair. Most of them do. But don't forget about our vets. Love on our vets, help our vets, listen to our vets, help them get their meds, help them fill out their paperwork, help them get to the doctor, help them be loved on, help them feel appreciated. I know when we go out and we see a uniform, they never pay. We pay for everybody's meal. It got expensive for me one night. I paid for a vet and didn't realize he had 15 family members at Longhorn. However, it was worth it because the guy had just got home. His first meal home was Longhorn. It's amazing if you talk to a vet what it's like to eat rations or even the base food. Still not home. Base food's pretty good wherever, just depends on where you go. And I talk to a lot of vets, but it's still not home. And we need to let these guys and girls know that we appreciate what they've done. We appreciate how they've done it. Some of the stories that I hear, some of the stories that Bill hears, I can't repeat a lot of the ones that I hear because they come to me as a pastor. They want to talk. But let me tell you, it's horrific. Just like my friend Bruce Marin told us on the show. He was in Vietnam, and his best friend was seated with him on a Jeep, and a sniper took him out with Bruce beside him. So I don't know. You get over it. You have to deal with it. You have to go on. But we need to help these guys. All right. So, thanks so much for always being here with me. Do the people that you love a favor. Tell them how much you love them, how much you want to be around them, how much you appreciate them. And do me a bigger favor this week. Tell a vet thank you for their service. All right. I'm Scot Ferrell. Thanks so much for stopping by. I'll see you next time.